Hi folks, and welcome back. Today I thought we'd have a bit of a think about memes. I'm not talking about the Richard Dawkins kind of memes, I'm talking about memes as we know and love them. But I got thinking, as I have thought before, and as I'm sure other people have thought, how do you classify memes? Are they an art, or are they a language? Because they really can be seen as a bit of both, or somewhere between the two. And what is a language, what is art, is initially, those are two huge questions as they are, and they would require a much longer video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of start from the premise that language is a way of using symbols to communicate ideas to other humans. And those can be characters, or they can be pictorial, like hieroglyphics. Now, art, I'm going to interpret as being an expression of an artist. So it's an artist expressing themselves and communicating a message. Now that can be through language, if you take, say, poetry or literature, or it can be expressed through imagery. If you take the visual arts, or it can be expressed through music, but it's that expression. So language is kind of more like a medium, art is more of that expression. That's how I'm going to read it. I appreciate there's much more to it than that, but for the sake of setting some parameters here, that's what I'm going to do. Now, what about memes? I mean, are they a language? Well, in a sense they are, in that they are a way of communicating ideas. But they're not a simple language, because there's also an expression behind them, and like an artistic expression as well. So I mean, what do you think memes are more like? Do you think they're more like a form of art or a language? Leave comments below. Let's see what you think. But if they are a language, they're more like hieroglyphics. They're more like a pictorial language in that sense. And that's where it becomes interesting. Because in that sense, what would people think if they were to see them much later down the line without the context? Memes lose their meaning, in a sense, if you don't know what the context is, if you don't have the translation. So that got me thinking. A bit like the Rosetta Stone was used to decipher hieroglyphics. How would you decipher memes? But I thought maybe it's not as simple as that. So, from this, I want to investigate the idea of memes as not necessarily in a language of their own, but as a tactical language within a host language. So what do I mean by a tactical language? Well, for this I'm drawing on the ideas of Michel de Certeau, and he was talking mainly about spaces and power when he discussed the idea of strategy and tactics. And he talked about the way that spaces are designed by powerful entities to be used in particular ways, in a sense, in the way of controlling people, and not necessarily like sort of brainwashing, controlling, but as in keeping people doing what they should do. Take, for example, a multi-story building, maybe like a university building or something like that. You've got doors that people should come in through, you've got stairs they should go up and down, there are spaces for relaxing, there are spaces for working. Each space has its purpose, and it's been designed by those in power for people to follow. Now that is a strategy. That's a strategy that's been created by those who are in power to try to make this space work for them. Now the thing is, when you actually add people in, they subvert power. They don't follow what power wants. So rather than doing what's expected of them, they turn it around and they use it for their own purposes. So this is what de Certeau refers to as tactics. It's taking the strategy of the powerful and then finding a tactical way of getting in between and changing and renegotiating these spaces. So take, for example, the stairs. Now, the stairs are designed for transporting people up and down them, but maybe you could end up sitting on the stairs and using them as a seating area, or even underneath the stairs in a stairwell, out the way of people, kind of a little secluded area. That would be a tactical use of space. It wasn't designed to do that. But you're using it in a way that suits your means, that doesn't follow what power wanted. Okay, so that's what I mean by strategy and tactics. Strategy from the top down, and tactics working their way in between. You know, by the people who are supposed to follow what the powerful want them to. So, what do I mean then about memes being a tactical language within a host language? Well, language has got its own strategy, and you're expected to follow its rules and its grammar and its syntax, right? However, you can create a new language, and you can actually create your own language as long as each person understands. Like, as long as two people understand it, it creates a language, and it creates its own language game, referring to Wittgenstein. You know, as long as people know what they're talking about and know the references, then it works. So memes are linguistic in that sense, in that they follow rules and that they're communicating ideas between people. However, my thought on this is that memes can't really understand, can't really exist on their own. Because it's very hard to start a conversation with a meme. It's possible, but it's very hard. They're generally as a reaction. They're a reaction to something that's said, and they're often used to kind of communicate an idea that relies on references, on understanding what the meme itself means, but as a reaction to something. So in a sense, much like tactical use of space requires a strategy to have been put there in the first place, memes kind of rely on a language being there, and a linguistic idea, and something being communicated, which can then be intercepted and subverted. So, you know, take a news report or something, someone might respond with a meme. That's because the meme throws a new take onto what was originally trying to be communicated. If you're having a conversation with someone and somebody mentions something that's happened, or like, you know, something that they're feeling, and you respond with a meme, you're taking that kind of ordinary understanding, that ordinary communication, and you're subverting it and creating a kind of a humour out of it, or creating an understanding. You're communicating something deeper. So if we are to accept memes as linguistic, I would say that they would show properties of being a tactical language within a host language. Think of it this way: if you took the language away, then very quickly memes would be very hard to, you wouldn't actually be able to have that transmission of information. They only work in response to something. Now, of course, if nobody actually sort of were to write down what memes mean, in 100 years' time, they're not going to mean anything to anyone. But the same could be said of any language, unless there is some kind of record of it. But then again, this is assuming that they're a language. They are also expressive of the creator's intent, so you know, they could be argued to be an art form. And that would be a very different approach. At that point, you'd be thinking about it as a kind of a subversive art form, and that would be a completely different take. So, you know, I suppose the question is, do you see them as a language, in which case they could be argued to be a tactical language, or do you see them as an art form? And if so, do they take up a completely different meaning? Like I said, leave comments below. Let me know what you think. So thanks for watching. Be interested to know what your thoughts are about memes and their use within language and how they communicate things. Any questions, any comments, leave them below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. See you next time.